Hi, it's Keegan Connor Tracy, and I was the Blue Fairy on Once Upon a Time. I think when I approached the role, when I first got the Blue Fairy, you can't look up, how does a fairy act? I just tried to think about, when I was up in the rig, hanging from the air for the green screen stuff, like what are her movements like? And I felt, she had that sort of jellyfishy thing, and I thought it would feel like this is how she kept herself in space, and that she was always measured and serene, and even things like when you're casting a spell, well, how do you do that? And I just tried to think about things like that, but really you were just making it all up. When I played Belle in Descendants, I would watch the Queen, because I would see, well, what is her comportment? How does she hold herself and carry herself? And I could mimic some of those things, but I can't look up a fairy, so I just made it up. Many, I think, over 7 seasons. Certainly, the pilot was hard for me because it turns out I was very, very sick, and I was working, and I only made it onto set around 3 o'clock in the morning, and I had a new baby, and I was nursing, and so I was hanging way up in the air, and I hadn't done that before, so everybody was little like this. I was so high in the air, and they just they didn't forget me, but they were doing things, and I was hanging up there, and then my milk was coming in, and I was coughing, and I'm saying like, please, hello, and so they had to send someone to my house to pick up, I don't know how you say it in French, but like the, breast pump, and I thought it was just that I was up so late, and I had this baby, and in fact, the next day, I ended up in the hospital for a week, so I was very, very sick after the pilot, and so that was certainly, that was challenging, that introduction, and also like not knowing how to be a fairy yet, and how she was going to move, like they had her swinging through space, and I didn't have other people there. I just had a piece of tape, that's Prince Charming, that's Snow White, and I think that's, as an actor, we need eyeballs. We want to speak to another person and see how they react to what we say, and that was, I think, one of the biggest challenges of the Blue Fairy, is that for the longest time it was just me by myself. I felt that on paper the Blue Fairy was very, and particularly Mother Superior was, like I say this with love, but she was boring. And so I was always trying to find a way to imply something bigger beyond it, because I sort of felt, well, if they won't write her those things, then I will find a way to make people wonder about those things. And I think it worked, in terms of the fact that so many people were like, she's shady, because I didn't have a lot to work with, so I really tried to imply things to see if I could maybe steer them to give me more things to do. I've been lucky enough to have had a long career in which I have played many, many roles and many different kinds of things. And so, I loved the episode I did of Creepshow a little while ago, because she was really brash and funny, and I love to do comedy, and you don't get to do comedy very often in Vancouver. And the independent film Z that I did was a really great psychological horror film, and I loved that role. I loved being on The Magicians. That was a fantastic show to be a part of. Bates Motel. I've been lucky, As I'm saying these, I'm like, gosh, those were good shows. Yeah, I've been lucky. I think they both influence each other now. I think I understand the process for directors differently than I did before I started directing, and so it helps me know, for example, with a director I can say, so are you still going to cover this, or you're coming around on there, and so I know where to put my performance for them. And I think having been an actor for so long now, when I work with actors as a director, I feel confident in saying that directors really like to work with, or actors really like to work with me as a director. I'm an actor's director, and so I know what it is to do the work, to do emotional work, I speak the language of actors, and so I think I love working with actors who have become directors because we know the process, and I think that's what I bring to that. And vice versa to some degree. Like, I have a lot more empathy for the crew now that I work as a director.